If your ink's too slow and your nib won't flow, here's one of the places that you can go. Larry is here to see you through with Mr. Announcer and Cubby too. It's Larry's Fountain Pen Reviews.
You know, Tony, the triangular pen you mentioned, that 360, that design goes way back. This is from like the early 1900s. The oblique pen holders. These are ransomarian holders that they add for it. I actually find this very comfortable. The problem is you have to have something of a traditional grip to really make use of this, or it's going to.
Kind of like with a Lamy.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Or a Twisby.
You remember I mentioned the size of those nibs? Look at the Toma versus the number 50 nib.
Wow.
The Toma actually is bigger than it. It's a very springy nib. It's one, that's why I've never, really got into writing with M1000s, because I prefer the M800.
Right.
To me, it's just a little too springy, but beautiful pen. But that stunned me. I want to get one of these pens but I think you had to wait for them, and I'm not a big fan of waiting for stuff.
Well, it's funny you said that, Joe, about the M1000 Pelican. I don't know if you all went to the Pelican hubs. I think, Frank, you were hub master, were you not?
Not this year, but yeah, I have in the past. I didn't go to this year's though, but yeah.
We had kind of a mediocre turnout up here, maybe 20, 25 people. Some people are still nervous about going because of, worry about getting sick.
Sure.
And then we had, and a lot of people didn't come because, they said no ink. Why am I going to go to no ink? Well, I went because I wanted to get together with people that we used to get together. A lot of them were our normal pen group meetup people, and but I ended up selling my M1000. I had a green, striated M1000 to a young man that lives here close by, and he wanted to buy it, and I have another M1000, so I said, and that's one of the things. I've always loved the pen, but again, it's kind of bouncy and springy that writing just didn't look as good. So
Tony, tell me about your ink supplies.
Well, what's really weird? I know this is blasphemous, but I've got probably more ink. I think we all have more ink than we'll ever need to use. Okay, let's get down to it, really. But I haven't bought ink in a long time because
Alexa, stop. Sorry.
Well, I'm not Joe Vitolo. I'm not one ink man, but I will tell you, I've stopped buying ink, but because every ink that comes out, I look at it and go, oh, wait a minute, I've got something that looks just like that.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know men, and Lannis, men are very bad. We're kind of, we don't see things like women do. You can see two shades of red and go, oh, that's that red and that's that red. We say, oh, it's red. Okay, it's red. Well, I've got the best things that I've gotten recently I got hooked on was because of Larry. I got some Birmingham inks from Larry, and I had to end up buying some more Birmingham inks because their inks, I love their inks a lot. And I can go down my list, but I've got a lot of Diamine ink. I've got some Mont Blanc ink, which what I've got the general line. And then I like Monteverde inks are really good as well. I like the Monteverde because they're all lubricated. Mm-hmm. But I've got a funny ink story for you. So Christmas time comes around. I've got 6 children, and I see this message on my email that I've got a package coming from Goulet to my house, and I'm going, I didn't order nothing. I don't order from Goulet. By the way, I boycotted Brian Goulet. I don't buy nothing from Goulet. I've got an issue with Brian, but that's a personal deal. But so I go, who ordered from Goulet? So I started asking my kids, and my daughter goes, why is that coming to your house? Well, because you bought it and it says shipped to my house. Okay, that's why it's coming here. So she says, well, don't open it because that's your Christmas gift. And I thought, she's 18 years old. I'll give you one guess what kind of ink. She has no idea about fountain pens. So I'll give you one guess what kind of ink was in that when I opened it up on Christmas.
Calligraphy ink.
It was all shimmery, glittery. I looked like a
man.
cheap hooker after I started using that stuff. I glitter everywhere.
You
What the
send
hell?
that right to me. I love it.
Oh my God. I thought, what the heck?
But you can
So
use dip pens.
I open this up and I go, oh, and I just knew, and the guilt took over. And I'm thinking, I've got to really like these inks because my daughter went out of her way to buy ink for me. She bought 2 glittery inks and one ink that I had given away, and I'll get to that in a second. But so I look at these glittery inks. One was a Diatramentis. It's called Heligion Green Copper. And it's a wonderful, beautiful ink. It's green and it turns into copper and it's like shiny and everything. So I think I got to find a pen that I can put this thing in. I went to the pen store that we have local brick and mortar, and the guy gave me a couple of nibs for Twisby. He just gave them to me. They had a couple broad Twisby nibs. I thought, perfect. I'll put it on my Twisby Vac 700. It'll be fine. So I shake the damn thing up. Well, broad nib. Put it in there. Nothing. Wouldn't even come out. Nothing. I swipe the top of the nib and there's all glitter just coming. Glitter. So I'm thinking, this is bull. So I tried. I cleaned it all out. I put a different one. Oh, no, you can leave that. Oh.
In case your daughter watches this.
Who does?
In case your daughter watches
this.
Oh,
no, she knows. She already knows. Oh, she already knows. My daughter knows. It's no problem. So I said, screw this. I tried it again in a different pen, tried to get it. It would not flow. And when it did flow, there's no glitter, which is okay. So I decided the only way I'll use that ink is with this or something like that, right? Exactly. The other ink she gives me was
Pen Revolution Ultra.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to get one of those. So I end up getting a Diamine's ink vent calendar from last year, Jack Frost. It's pretty much.
Oh, you mean the first year?
First year, yeah. And it's a sheening ink more than glittery. Although they got the glitter in there, it's very fine glitter, which I like. And it's worked. And I put it in a broad nib pen, and it's never had any problems. So that I can keep that ink. The third ink she gave me was Noodler's Southwest Sunset. Used to be. Can I say it, Patchy, without being politically?
You can say it.
Anyway, I had given away that ink. I had a bottle of that ink years ago, and I gave it away because it's too light for my fine and extra fine nibs. It's just too light. So I took it to the local pen store, and I told the young man who manages the place, who knows me, I said, can I just swap this out? So, I never even opened it. He said, sure, pick out whatever you want. And I picked out another Noodler's ink. I love it. It's Burma Road Brown, and it's fabulous ink. I know they get a bad rap. Noodler's inks get bad rap, but I've never had an ounce of problem with Noodler's ink, other than a couple of them will dry by the turn of the next century.
Yep.
That's it. That's about the only problem with the Noodler's ink. Sometimes they just don't want to dry. Which one is that one?
This is Navajo turquoise. It almost.
I got that.
Dries.
I love that ink. I got that ink and it works fine. But yeah, you're right. It will also take a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now known as Mesa turquoise.
Mesa.
Oh, is it Mesa turquoise? Yeah.
This
politically
is
correct.
an image I made sort of tongue in cheek to illustrate a point, to show people my ink stash. So if you notice, everything is other inks. This is and all those ones at the top are all my dip pen, and the two in the center at the top, the 2 regular bottles with caps. You guys remember me telling the story about Neil McCaffrey making me Vitolo Violet?
Oh yeah.
That's the only 2 bottles. It was more of a goof, but just to illustrate the only ink I really care about.
Wow.
Anyway,
that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
And even you guys remember the ink samplers that used to come from not yet, it had Yamabuda, but it was part of the Iroshizuku. You can get these little 15 mil bottles, set of 3 up and sample different inks. Well,
yeah.
I got one of those with Yamabudo in every one of them.
I remember seeing you posted that, Joe. Yeah. I remember you posting that. And I bought a couple of those before where they have the multiple trials or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a great ride. I really, are you going to show that? Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, there you go.
No, but see, the one I had was in a plastic thing with foam. It's an older model of this, I guess.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
Aw.
So yeah, and I love my Roshizuku inks as well. They're all really good. I've got my Yamabudo. I think of you, Joe, every time I ink up with Yamabudo.
Yep, me too.
So that's the deal.
one last thing I wanted to show you guys, just from my perspective, just so you can see this. I received a Christmas postcard from someone named Erica McPhee. Have you heard of her, Tony?
No.
Check,
No, I'm not familiar with
take a look at the left side of the screen, her ornamental.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I erased the address. Just I'm going to post this. I don't want to post addresses.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was pretty impressed by when I seen it. I got to speak to him. I think Michael Ward probably knows her, but anyway.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's impressive right there. Well, was it black with white or did you change it over?
Black with white. I don't know if it was penned like that or if it was a card that was written in, because this is a postcard. I think
Yeah.
she put several of them up, but still, it's pretty
Wow.
amazing.
That's wild. So that's where I'm at on my pen journey. Right now, I'm just kind of in a holding pattern and waiting. Hopefully, we'll get together again at the pen show in St. Louis, Frank. Hopefully, we're going to do that.
Of course.
We had a great time. I'll tell you what, if you all have never met Frank and Mark in person, you need to do so because they are just a gas to be around. Haven't you, Larry?
How about Dee Dee? How about Dee Dee? Is Dee Dee with them?
Oh yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, well, no, actually, we went out with Rita and Mario went down to St. Louis.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite ink at the moment?
Mine?
I know he's not asking me, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm really enjoying that ink that I told you about, that Newler's Burma Road Brown. I'm really enjoying that because it's kind of a dirty. They called it a dirty green, or it looked like diarrhea. That's what someone said. They say, "Oh, it looks like diarrhea," and I thought, well, that's a shitty way to talk about an ink. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Well,
That came from Tony.
I mean, it does kind of look,
Yeah, I
I
love
guess,
it.
going down that road.
Yeah, and I didn't buy it from that place. But yeah, that's pretty much my favorite ink. And don't ask me about my favorite pen because it would be really hard. But I can tell you,
The one that's in your
I can
hand.
tell you that they're all my favorite. It's the one I have in my hand at the time I'm writing. That's my favorite pen. That's the beauty of it all. So,
Looking at YouTube, I mean, of all the videos I've watched about fountain pens, the one that really had the biggest effect on me was Stephen Brown posted one a few years back about a collector versus an accumulator.
yeah.
And that had a sobering effect on me because I started to realize, you see that post of all of the, Arco Sailor I had and all of
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even use those pens just because, like you, I want the extra fine Japanese or EEF size nibs, which most people wouldn't like to use. But yeah, I thought about, I'm accumulating stuff, and I had this. There's nothing wrong if you want to do that, but for me, it's about the writing experience. And
Right.
that's what I care about.
Well,
and I got rid of a lot of pens.
His latest video, Joe, is about selling pens.
Yeah.
About why we keep so many pens, why we emotionally attached to them. And, it was making so much sense. I had to shut it off early because it was making me feel uncomfortable. Like, I got to get rid of my pens. I said, screw you, Stephen. I'm keeping them all. And I shut it down. No, he's right. I mean, it's right at some point, when you have so many. And that brings me to this point. I've made a dedicated effort to rotate my pens because I've got so many of them. I've created a spreadsheet, listed every one of my pens on it. And what I've done is when I ink up a pen, I go to that on the spreadsheet, I highlight it, put the date that I've inked it up. And once that thing runs dry and I clean it out and store it, it can't be used again until I've run through all the rest of my pens.
That's a good idea.
I'm in 1 year, I'm through over half of my pens. So they're all going to get rotated on a regular basis, depending on how much writing I do.
How many times has somebody here sold a pen and then regretted it and had to buy it back? Have you ever been through? Yeah.
Me, for real.
Not long ago, one of my favorite pens. For that reason, I decided to sell this one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Are you crazy?
Well, within a month of selling it, I bought another one. I have no idea. It's maybe it's the sickness. I'm not sure. Or
That's
long COVID or something.
that's not the one. That's not the one that they left at your doorstep. That please tell me that wasn't the one.
That was a Nakaya double dorsal too. I lost $1,500 on that deal.
Whoa.
Well, you know, I moved on. What am I going to do? Sit there and cry about it? They took a picture of it in front of my door. I live in a gated community. Somebody maybe the delivery guy just walked off with it. Yeah, and I couldn't hold FK in Singapore responsible. I told him don't worry about the signature, and so I about $1,500 for that one.
Wow.
Many beatings.
What's that?
Speaking of losing, Frank, tell me about, not you personally, but at fountain pen shows.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, it makes me sick to my stomach how vendors have had their pens stolen from fountain pen shows. It makes me sick that people would do that. You know, obviously stealing is wrong, but what makes me wonder is if those guys came up to a vendor and said, you know, I really want a pen really bad. I've never written with a pen. I really want one. I don't have no money. I bet a vendor would say, here, take one of these cheap, you know, here's a pen.
Wow.
Than to steal. But these are people stealing expensive pens.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't go to Denver. You know, it's one of the few that I don't go to, but the dealers all organized and took care of business at Denver. If you heard about that.
No. Cameras?
Denver Pen Show.
No, I mean, did they use cameras? I thought you guys used
Yeah. I'm sorry, they did. You're right. I'm sorry, Gary. They did. So long story short, from what I understand, guy came, stole pens from Kenro, distributor, and then he came back the next day and tried it again. Same guy, same people, because this time Carrie was there for Kenro. Carrie Pen Day. He also represents for Kenro. He's my rep too, but he set up cameras the next day, and the guy came back, and then they basically detained the guy until the police got there. And then everyone else found out that they also had been victims. So
they caught him?
They arrested him. Yep, they arrested him.
Good.
So that was one good time that I know that it turned out good. Yeah, there've been events, you know, my last theft that I can remember, and it wasn't just me, it was Long Island before COVID. And me, Mario, and Kenro, because it's Kenro's home show. They bring a lot of stuff there at the New York Long Island Pen Show, Hofstra. And we had all found out by noon on Saturday, the first day, that we'd all been robbed.
Well, you know, anyone that doesn't know Frank, if you've ever been to a pen show, Frank and Mark and Dad have their whole long, I mean, your tables are so
5 tables.
How in the world can you keep your eyes on everybody?
It's not easy, but yeah, you have to bring it to sell it, you know.
Well, you're right, but I've got a plan for you on the next pen show. You put up a fake camera right there and say you're on camera. Put a sign.
Go, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, whether you're actually recording or not, they can't take that chance. You know, they may not do that. So that might be you're on surveillance or you're on camera right now.
Frank,
I don't know.
Do you know if they recruit merchandise at that Colorado show? In other words, did they get that stuff back?
It was enough to be a felony theft, and they arrested him.
Wow. I just wanted to recoup the merchandise.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's a guy on Instagram called Stilo Calibre, I think it's called. He's over in England, and he was mentioning we were talking about a pen, and he posted this bunch of pens, like 4 or 5 pens, $10,000 worth of pens. I kind of calculated it up, over $10,000, and he says, yeah, I've gotten 3 or 4 of them. I've repurchased 3 or 4 of these back. I'm trying to recoup this by buying them new ones because all these were stolen. He had a Mont Blanc Martelet. He had a Arco celluloid. he had a whole bunch of just expensive pens. And I asked him, where did you lose them? He goes, they got stolen. I said, where? He said, at the gym, at the gymnasium. I think, why would you take $10,000 worth of pens? And why would, you know, I didn't go into that with him. I felt bad for the guy. But I'm just thinking, I never leave, by the way, I never leave this house with any expensive pens. I just don't. I don't carry them around. I don't take my Viscontis and go running out on the street and go to the Quick Trip and get myself a Slurpee. You know, I don't understand why people would take their, especially a place where you're going to leave it somewhere, like in a locker or a bag or whatever.
I think this is the most expensive pen that I will leave the house with, unless I'm going to the pen club.
I have one.
No, I don't live it that way. I'll wear my diplomat, you know, or that one I showed you that's in my pocket, but not. First of all, I don't go to the gym, as you could tell, so I'm not going to leave it anywhere. I've had people with that pen in my pocket reach for it to use it in a restaurant. I'm like, oh, easy.
Jokes that are funny.
You know? And that's what it was. A very expensive pen, but you know, I mean, I used to wear the Mont Blanc. What's it at? The Ernest Hemingway, the Hemingway. I used to wear that with me.
But Joe, you're not taking it out of your pocket and put it on a table. It's in your pocket. That's my whole point. I mean, this guy had his in a bag in a pen roll or whatever. And a question for you, Marilyn: have you ever been performing surgery on someone and left one of your pens inside them? I'm just curious.
Ripping back open, get it out.
First of all,
and then you find the thermometer over your ear and go, oh, somebody's got my pen. Anyway.
Larry,
that's my joke.
Never.
It's a proctologist joke.
Didn't somebody take the Mont Blanc I sent you at a coffee shop or something? Larry, you got some pens stolen. Remember the pen I sent you, the Mont Blanc? I sent you a Mont Blanc pen.
Yeah.
Did somebody take it at a coffee shop?
Yep. Well, the whole thing was I had to go to John, so I asked a buddy that was there to watch my pen, right? And he knows how expensive they are. Said, do not leave the table, blah, blah, blah. He promised he wouldn't. But when I come out of the John, he wasn't at the table. He was up there ordering his coffee. First thing came in my head, my pen. I went to the table and it's gone. And I said, hey, Jack, what happened to my pen? I just came up here to get I said, look, it's gone. That was it.
Yeah.
And then he didn't even know what they got.
Beatings, many beatings.
Yeah, that's the way it happens, man. But yeah, I know people are very, you know, it doesn't really matter. Like you say, you become conscious of it, but it's amazing because until I started wearing more costly pens in my pocket, no one ever reached for a pen. I'm talking innocently, not to look at it. They want to fill something out, a piece of paper, go to grab it. Didn't do it when I was using, you know, big pens in my pocket or, you know, clickable ballpoints, but reach over. It's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know,
I can't imagine.
I don't even like losing one of my preppies. You know, I like my preppies a lot too. It's a great pen. You know, I don't care if they're $6-7. I just like the way they write. They feel they're a fun pen, and I enjoy them, and I just really get chapped. Yeah. So, Frank, do you have any idea when they're going to go up again? Because I bet you Preppy will go up again.
Oh
yeah. They just went up. They're 7, like you said. You know, most of the brands did have an increase. You know, this month, this year. You know, so
yeah.
Who knows what'll happen? We'll have to see what 2023 brings. You know,
Frank, I got to tell you, you know what I think I purchased. I can't remember which pen I purchased from you, but it was the Cordas or something like that. And you sent me a Platinum Preppy as a gift, like a separate pen.
Oh, yeah.
You gave me one.
Yeah.
I don't have any.
I'm afraid to say. I like to throw a Preppy in.
I threw it in. I had to throw it in the trash, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
That was my pen dedicated for Bay State Blue. And eventually, the Bay State Blue ate through that thing, and it was like, what the hell? And it was
really.
It ate through they ate through the plastic, but it looked so good on my hand. for
I
about a
love
week and a
Bay
half.
Blue.
For a
I
week
love
and a
it.
half. It actually stained my blotter, and I still to this day has got the stain on it. But I love that ink. I'm not giving up on Bay State Blue, by the way. I'm going to keep using
Yay.
it, but I've got to use it in a pen that will, you know, it's got some sort of, I got to send it through a hazmat unit to make sure that it's capable of handling that. It's
Well,
such a, it's so sad that it's such a gorgeous ink, you know?
Most fountain pen inks are very acidic.
Yeah.
There was a chart I posted some point ago where very few are above the neutral line. Most of them are much lower. The pH is much lower. And so if you don't understand about acidity, people don't realize a tiny difference in pH is a big deal because it's a logarithmic scale. It's not a, you know, just a straight, a tiny pH, 7.2 versus 7.4. As Marilyn could probably tell you, get infections, it drops the pH, and it doesn't take much of a drop of pH, let's say, to put somebody in a coma or a hospital.
Not only that, but it'll eat your paper.
Yeah, that's the important.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the coma.
Too much acid in your ink.
Yeah, especially traditional, and we talked about this, Tony, the iron gall inks, the dip pen versions of iron gall ink. I mean, that we've got specimens from the 1800s and early 1900s where the shading is gone. The shades are just through the paper, and that's got to do with free radical damage to the paper because of the iron. With moisture, you generate free radicals.
I don't know if I mentioned that I was using this. I've been using this because I got to use it up. This is old world iron gall.
Oh yeah.
And I used it. And I used this dip pen only. So there was one day I must have had some on my fingers, and I was like this, and I kept thinking, oh my God, I got blood or something going on in my mouth? It was the iron. I could smell the iron. And it was like I was, like when you bleed, you smell the iron.
If you ever want to use that kind of ink, the traditional iron gall, you never stir that. Never stir it.
Oh, really?
No, as a matter of fact, there's articles from E.W. Bloser from the past where he talks about you decant off the supernate and leave the smudge in the bottom, put a few drops of lemon to make it reacidify, and then you add a little bit more of the fresh ink to charge it again. Because that solution, it's not, if you put it between your fingers and rub it, it almost feels like little razor blades. It's not meant to be. It doesn't.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Right.
So we add a little lemon juice, a little vodka, and next thing you know,
there you go. You start drinking it.
I wouldn't advise drinking it either. You end up with a tummy ache.
You know who used to do that? Not drink it, but Aziza. Escarelli.
Gourmet pens.
Yeah, gourmet.
You would taste inks. I test it. Caesar, what the heck are you doing? Don't do that. You have no idea with some of it's organic dyes, but I know I don't think she does it anymore.
But she was, when she urinated, it was a rainbow.
Oh, she's a rainbow.
Good night, everybody.
I don't know that for a fact. I've not seen any evidence of that, but just
no.
Please don't drink the ink.
Right. Right. It was like the past, which just suck on the new nibs to get the coating off. You don't put those things in your mouth.
No. Well, they used to, didn't they? Used to years ago. That like that to get it to right.
Nib. The other one, and I'm talking about principality style nibs.
Oh no. Because I used to see, in the old movies or something like that, they're going to write something, they go like that, and then they go to write.
One guy, there's a guy I know that it's not on here, but he works at the pen show. He'll do that same thing to get it to start to write. Yep.
Well,
Sure
I have a few pens that for some reason they dry out.
Yeah.
And I've got a little bottle of water. I just tap into the water and it's fine.
Put a sponge in there. That's what I do.
Yeah.
It's a little dry, right? And some of the fountain pens don't seal well. There are some that seal so well that when you go to twist them, they'll suck ink out. You get this ink creep.
The Faber-Castell Loom is like that. Isn't that kind of like really that hard?
Yeah, and some of the old pens, the vintage pens, they used to have little tiny pinholes in the cap. I guess to break that kind of. I'm assuming that's what it was for, but yeah, it used to drive me crazy. And
Well, Frank, you have a bunch of vintage. Is that what they had a lot? I noticed that the holes
Yeah.
in the cap.
Sure.
Wouldn't that dry out the nib?
Schaefer, Esterbrook, yeah, it's meant to keep the good airflow and all. You said
Well,
you don't get.
I know that if you have a wide enough channel, you really don't have to worry about the nib
Right.
drying out. Waterman has huge channel in their feed, so you just like that, and it's all over the page.
And I don't think many fountain pens, although what I do like is though some of the Japanese pens have it's a spring-loaded cap that fits over the
3776.
Yeah.
3776 water cap.
It's even with an increase in price, it's still probably the best bang for a buck for most people. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you get yourself a 14-karat gold nib, you know. And,
But they're not flexy.
no, that's the thing.
Yeah.
But you had that UEF nib that you probably love, Tony.
What's that? Which
Oh
one?
yeah, I've got a few of them.
Yeah.
Ultra
The
extra fine.
3776 has that ultra extra fine nib.
Ultra extra fine. Yeah.
Frank, if you sold many of those things, how many people want to send them back when they realize it's scratchier than most pens? You know, you can't do much with that. Now I don't mind. Probably Tony doesn't mind because with dip pen guys,
All right.
you know, sharp dip pens which are never smooth.
Well, I want to make this statement about fine and extra fine nibs. The key to an extra fine nib working for anybody, it has to have a good enough flow where you don't press down, because ultimately if you have a light touch and the flow's there, it's not scratchy.
Right.
If you're pressing it down like a regular fountain pen on the paper and you're moving it like a regular medium nib or a broad nib, it's going to scratch. You can't make it. But if you're writing on that and you're using I've got one right here. So this is a you're not gonna be able to see it very well, but okay. This right here has got an extremely fine needle point on it. And I got this, you can't really tell, but anyway, it was one I bought used, Belgica, it's a Visconti, but it's got such a fine thing, and it's got a good flow. So I barely have to touch it to the paper, and it really is not scratchy. It's a very smooth writer, even though it's an ultra extra fine. So a lot of it has to do with the pressure that you're using to write with. And then the same way with, there you go. And ultimately, when I'm using this, which is a fine, or it's a needle point, it's a pen, when I talk to the people that teach Michael Sull, Michael Ward, any of these guys, they say when you're writing with something like this, which is like a fountain pen with an extra fine or an ultra extra fine or needle point, is that you got to act like you're writing on water. That you have to have such a light touch. It's got to barely be, you're basically drawing the ink across the paper. But if it's a dry pen, you're screwed. You got to get the flow. You got to get the flow going on that extra fine, because you're going to ultimately use too much pressure and it's going to be scratchy.
Yeah, but I've seen some people with in their channels where they do writing demonstrations. It's like they're writing with a nail, and pressing it into the page. I couldn't believe the sound it was making. I thought I had a light touch until I started doing fountain pen stuff, and I realized it wasn't light, but it's become a lot lighter than it was when I started, and still not as light as it should be. But
it's hard. It's hard to write with a light touch, to relax because when you write with a fountain pen or write with anything. A fountain pen or a dip pen, you really, the pen should be able to fall out of your hand if you're holding it up, and it's just going to fall out of your hand. If you're gripping it with the death grip, you're going to have cramps, and it's going to be a bad writing experience. And that's the beauty of fountain pens, is that fountain pens allow you to have that nice flow when you're writing. And so that's my opinion. That's my opinion, but I really believe. Someone told me if you have a fountain pen, you should be able to hold it from the very end, put the nib on there, and just draw it across the page, and you should have a line. So instead of having to push hard. You should be able to write with just the gravity and the nature of the what do you call it?
Very few people can do that.
Capillary action, right? And
Very
it's hard. Go
Very
ahead,
I got a
Larry.
question real quick on the Iridium nib. Who makes those nibs?
The Iridium,
Yeah.
that's the point. That would be the point. The
No, I think
Iridium is the
I
point.
think there was some engraved with the Iridium name
Yeah.
on there, stamped Iridium.
So who makes them?
Oh, my understanding is, Frank, maybe you know more about this. The Iridium tip really isn't much Iridium. Somebody said that they used the term Iridium, but I don't think it's a lot of Iridium in that ball that they put to the end. I could be wrong, but I'd heard that.
Iridium
that too.
comes from comets that have super hardened properties. And so they break it apart, and 9 times out of 10, they're not actually iridium. They're just balls of steel.
Yeah, something that's just because I mean anything will resist wear more than gold would.
And
I
if
don't-
you have a pen that's $1 or $2 that says it's iridium tipped, you've been lied to. So just saying.
Well,
it's-
was that an actual? It's not an actual brand of nib, right, Frank?
No.
It was.
No, they're just telling you it's iridium tip.
There you go. Okay.
You should put down like iridium tip Germany. They're telling you, it's kind of
Right,
like the
right.
old vintage pens that say they're warranted 14 karat for gold. It's a warranted, they guarantee it's a 14 karat gold nib. Or they warranted that it's gold plated. You'll see that too on some vintage
CP.
pens. What they're basically doing is they're saying it is an iridium tip. But again, like we just said, who knows the percentage of the iridium, you know? Yeah.
I wouldn't even know if there'd be any difference between, let's say, 100% Iridium. It may have to be alloyed. That may be why it doesn't contain as much as we think. Just like 14 karat gold, right? You know, it's like almost 50% or more gold, but not like
Right.
Yeah. I never knew why Sailor went with 21 karat nibs. You know,
Softer.
Yeah.
well, you know, Marilyn, I asked Mike, I may have said this once before on the channel. I asked Mike Masayama if he would take one of my Sailor King of Pen mediums and take it down to an Joey says, I'll do that. But, you know, are you sure you have a light enough touch? Because the reason why Sailor does not make them with that King of Pen nib is because it's not a flexible nib, but when you get that thin with the tip, the tines tend to come apart when you write too heavy and it becomes scratchy. You're writing with the inner surface. And I was going to have him do it like, you know what, after I realized I have a heavy hand, I decided not to go with it. You know,
See,
There's
This
the
is-
Iridium point.
There
There you
you
go,
go.
Larry.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah,
it
that's
says
it.
iridium point, but
Yeah.
this is a free pen, so I don't know if it makes a
Wait.
difference, but
But that's not a brand of nib, Larry.
no.
Okay.
It's
I
just
see that
telling
on
you
a
that the
lot of
little-
pens though.
Right.
It's just saying
right.
that the little ball of steel on the
Right.
end is made from iridium.
Hey, you know what I wanted to say, Tony, when you were showing the Namiki Emperor, I've owned a few of those also, got rid of most of them just because they were too big. And
Right.
but you know, my biggest disappointment when I found out was, I'm going to post this. I had made the assumption, if you look at this feed, this is from the red one.
Right.
It's so beautiful. It's coated with the feed's coated with the
Oh, that
ruchi.
red thing. Yeah, I like
I
that.
made the mistake of thinking that was an ebonite feed, and it's not. It's plastic.
What?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I said this on one of the fountain pen, I think, group on Facebook. I says, "Oh yeah, it's an ebonite feed with a ruchi coating on it." And I know, and they're like, "No, it's not. I got roasted." I'm like, "Really? Plastic?"
Oh, I think
you're
the
looking- what you're
F
looking
not.
Yeah, what you're looking at is actually an urushi coating on there, but I couldn't believe it. For the
Yeah,
price,
mine-
think
mine
about
is
it,
black.
$2,000.
Oh, I want my money back, Frank. I want my
There you
money
go,
back.
Frank.
Me too, and I haven't even bought one yet.
You
No,
think
hey, you know what though, Joe? Mine writes.
Oh, I'm just
Beautiful
pointing
pen.
out, for that much money.
Right.
Like, you know, come on, guys. You go through the work of a ruchi on there. You know, it's beautiful. Same thing with the black one. I like I
That's
had one
very
with the
upsetting.
single cap band on it. I think I can't even remember. Carrie Yeager actually has one or two of my pens. Mickey Emperors, there it is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I
It's
had
very upsetting just to find that out.
Hey, Frank, while he's doing that, You know what my goal is? I really, oh, there you go. Beautiful.
A the double ring one. I don't even know what they call it.
Beautiful, yeah, yeah.
I've not seen that double ring one.
Got that from Japan off eBay.
Okay.
Okay.
Same price, same price.
So what I want to buy, do you happen to have any pen that has a titanium nib on it, Frank?
I do.
I have my own titanium nibs on my Stars and Stripes pen from Heinz, Jim
Okay.
Heinz. They actually are Magna Carta titanium nibs.
Right.
And,
So I'm
yeah, I
trying
got
to
them
find a
from him.
pen. That's not my the Stars and Stripes wasn't something that I like that the denim Magna Carta. What was that one that you had?
Yeah, it's my Carta's type pen, and it's
Yeah.
called Denima. Yes, he basically.
Yeah, I like to get.
recycled
Can I
denim-
get one of
denim.
those with
Yeah.
a titanium nib? Will that
Yeah,
nib
I
fit?
actually can do that. Yeah, contact me. You know how to reach me.
Okay.
We got each other's phones, so yeah.
Yeah, because I've been dying to get a titanium nib.
Well, who
I don't
makes-
own one. That's the only thing I don't own, I guess.
Who
at
makes
this
the,
point.
who makes the nib for Magna Carta? Is it Yovo or Bob?
No,
or-
Hiram, they stamp them themselves. They make them themselves.
Really?
Yes. Mhm. He
They make
started
gold
doing,
nibs too?
he started doing steel. He then moved on to titanium. Now he's working on gold. He's
Okay.
actually advertised that.
Oh.
He's trying to start making his own gold nibs now. That's
Did
his
you
gold
see?
nib.
I know you guys have all seen it. Hiram made that fancy stamped nib beautiful. That has to be one of the most beautiful nibs I've ever seen. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah.
I'm on their website right now.
It's just I don't know if it's going to be on there, but
He doesn't get a chance to post a lot of his things on his site. You know.
it's on Instagram. He had one.
Yeah.
I don't know, was his brother or his son?
Yeah, they're a family shop.
Brother.
Yeah, all of them. It's
Brother.
brothers. It's
Brother.
sons. Yeah, it's
That
generations.
might be the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful nibs I've ever seen. I asked him the price on it. I want to say he told me the nibs were $200 and some. They're steel,
I believe it because it's all hand. Yeah.
hand
would make
carved.
sense.
And it's just
Yeah.
beautiful. Joe, you look at that nib and it's just fabulous. If you get a chance to see it, I have to see if I can find it. I'll send it to you on Instagram.
What brand? What model of pen was it?
No, it was just a
It's
nib.
a nib, but he's looking to show that he can do it. And if you want to
Oh,
buy it, inquire. You know, one of them things. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
There it
There
is.
you go. Thank you, Marilyn.
Yep.
Oh
but this
my
looks like
God,
it was
these are
by Nibs.
beautiful.
Isn't
That
that
looks like
something?
it was engraved by Tim Cohen. You know if Cullen did the engraving on that? Because
No, I think they did that.
He did it. As far as I know, he
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is. My only concern about this type of engraving on the nib, depending upon how thick the gold is, I have seen people who've done hand engraving on gold nibs.
But that's
And-
I don't think it's
Steel.
gold.
No, they're steel.
They're
Yeah,
steel.
but even so, I mean, yeah.
One
I
of the people that I watched did a review on one of their pens, and he said that the ink was leaking through some of the letters,
Yeah, it was
and so he had him redo it and send it back. It was leaking all over the nib. It was like, why is this nib creeping? Wipe it off. It's back again. Wipe it off. He's like, there's
Because
something
they're
wrong with
cutting
this.
into the metal and it only has so much thickness, even if it's steel.
Oh yeah, I never thought
You know.
about that. Yeah.
Well, I have friends of mine, you know, Tony, some of these people do bottle engraving at stores,
Oh sure.
engraving a bottle of champagne as they're engraving here.
Oh,
I wondered. You know
That's
what?
easy.
I wondered about that because I
Oh,
I
yeah.
see some of my friends from the IAMPA when they're doing that engraving on bottles. How in the world that glass can't be that thick? I mean, it's just.
It's sometimes that's why they won't really do champagne much anymore, because the pressure inside that bottle.
too expensive, or it'll break in your face.
Yeah, or
Oh yeah, good point. Good point.
There you guys have seen the corking thing. Someone use pressurized air to get the cork out. A lot of times with that, they want you to use a kimono or some type of wrap around the bottle in case something were to happen. I don't think folks realize how much pressure is inside of a champagne bottle. That's what
Mhm.
No.
Yeah.
The only way to properly open a champagne bottle is to hold it away from you and take the hardest knife you have and go like that and
Seen
watch
them
it.
do that, Marilyn. It's
Yeah,
pretty.
that's-
Well, speaking of a drink, I got to tell you this. I know this is not pen related. True story. Larry, you mind if I tell a true story? Okay, well, this guy was in a bar and he's drinking he's not drinking, he's looking at his drink. He's just staring at it. And the bar bully goes up and grabs a drink and just drinks it down. And the guy starts crying. He got his hands in his face crying like uncontrollably. And the guy says, "What's wrong, man? I'll get you another drink. Don't worry, don't cry. What's wrong?" The guy says, "You don't understand. I had the worst day of my entire life." He said, "I overslept. My alarm went off. Didn't go off in time. I got to work late. My boss was so mad, he fired me. So I had to go down, grab all my stuff, pack it up to go to home, take it down to my car, get down there. My car's missing. It's stolen. My car's stolen."
Oh, God.
So he says, "Now I'm really I'm disturbed." He said, the police said they couldn't do anything about it. I just got to get home. He calls a taxi cab. He gets in the cab. He drives. Cab takes him home. He gets out of the cab. "Where's his wallet?" "It's in the cab." And the guy's driving away with his wallet and his money and everything. And he said, "All I wanted to do was go see my wife." So I go upstairs into my bedroom and there's my wife with the gardener in bed. He said, I just turned around and ran straight out of the house to come to this bar. All I could think about was killing myself. That's all I could think about, killing myself. And you drank my poison.
I knew something was coming.
You knew something was coming. You knew it was coming, right, Frank?
Oh my God.
That's a true story. You know that your Zooms don't always have jokes on here, Larry, so I had to kind of throw it in. Oh, wow.
Unmute.
Huh?
Unmute, Larry. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Larry. No, you're still muted.
Larry, you think after all this time you learn how to work this stuff?
Here we go. Here we go. How about now? Yeah.
That's
You know,
Yeah, you're okay now.
okay. Sometimes it needs more than my beautiful, debonair, handsome face. I need a joke once in a while.
Yeah.
And I asked Doc Joe to give us some jokes, and he just won't do it. He
Wait,
too
wait,
refined.
that's not I won't do it. Now keep in mind I'm an Italian, and Tony, I'm an Italian, so I'm not doing an ethnic joke for no reason. What do you get when you cross a gorilla with an Italian?
A mother-in-law? What? I don't know.
A retarded gorilla.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? Frank.
I love that one.
Larry, I was watching you. You were doing this, and I thought you were doing sign language. And I thought to myself, you know why pirates can't sign language? You know why? Because their hook makes everything a question. It's just really. If you think about it.
But Tony, Larry uses his hands so much. We should check his DNA for traces of Italian.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you see these little kids.
would not surprise me.
Yeah, the kid's talking to his grandma like this. He's like 3 years old.
Yeah. If you tie an Italian's hands together, he stutters. I didn't know if you know that or not. It's a true story.
Woo! Lord have mercy.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, folks, I got to get off here. It's been fun.
All right. It's been
This
great.
has turned into an X-rated Zoom. All right.
It's been a great time.
You got to do it again. And when Tony doesn't come and I come, y'all don't have to come. Bye.
We'll see you guys.